Welcome to Butterflies of Wisdom, everyone. Today I happen to have Mary Grace with me. Mary Grace has graced this podcast, no pun intended, once before because of her incredible, story of rescuing a young boy out of Sudan and giving him legs, and she flew him back to North Carolina where she is, and she gave him the legs, and we talked about all that the last time, and I'm going to try and find Mary Grace's interview again, but if I can't find it, due to technology, I will let Mary Grace share her story once more, and so I'm going to let Miss Mary Grace take it away.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for listening to Win. She's got lots of gems of wisdom to share. So I wanted to talk with you about a couple things. One was that actually I was not successful in getting Khan here to the United States to get a prosthetic leg. I met him when he was just 5 in South Sudan when I was volunteering there as an English teacher. And his grandmother and the director of the hospital asked me if I could help him. So I had to actually go back to try, but I was unsuccessful. War, corruption, ego, all the things that can get in the way of trying to help a child in a war zone did indeed get in the way. However, eventually, even I had to come back without him, but we were able, about 4 months later, get him out of the war zone. He is now living in Eldoret, Kenya, where he is safe with a wonderful family, a Nuer family. He's of the Nuer tribe of South Sudan. So he's doing great. We send money for his schooling. We send money to help with his grandmother who got stuck in the camps in Juba because of the war. She was not able to get back to their homeland. Anyway, so he's doing great. He's learning. He's growing. He's speaking some English, and he's a wonderful boy. He's now 10. So that's the update on dear little Khan. Let's see. Also, something significant is that my husband came down with, initially about a year and a half ago, they told us he had cancer. However, then they came back and said, well, it's not cancer. It's actually worse than that. So he has a disease called cardiac amyloid, which is where these strange plaques deposit in his nerves and in his heart. So he was dying, and I would roll over in the night and check to see if he was still breathing, and he has recuperated significantly. He's in blood remission. He's really doing great. He still has a long way to go, and he won't, according to the medical science, he won't recuperate fully, but he is doing just great. He's not fainting anymore. There's just so many things to be thankful for. And then perhaps most importantly, I wanted to talk with you about my experience in Charlottesville that day when the activist Heather was killed.
God. You were in Charlottesville? Oh, my God.
I was. We raised nuts. Yeah, we raised our children on a mountain just north of Charlottesville, Madison County. And I happened to be home there on that mountain visiting when I heard that the Nazis and neo-Nazis and Klansmen were coming to Charlottesville, and I just felt that I had to be there. So I wanted to stand as a witness for love. So in the middle of the night before the demonstration, I got up and I found an old T-shirt, a Virginia organizing T-shirt, and I wrote love, and I wrote 1 John 4:7-8, just a passage from the Bible, which is a really powerful passage. It just says, for God is love, and all who love are born of God, and God knows them, and they know God. So I wrote that on my shirt, and I went down the next day, and I was quite surprised that it didn't seem to be that there were a lot of organized, nonviolent activists interceding between, being the in-between between the Nazis and Antifa and other people who were very, very angry, rightfully so. So I basically did my little nonviolence work in between those different groups and was able to talk some people down with weapons and just kind of stand as a witness. And I would sing Amazing Grace. I would sing softly, and the people around me would just kind of calm down a little bit. And I think the police made a tactical, or the Charlottesville made a tactical error. I think it was legally and constitutionally correct that the Nazis had the legal right to be at that Lee statue in the park. I think when we, the counter-demonstrators, petitioned to be counter-demonstrators, I think they should have put us a full mile away into a park far away, because what happened was that we were so close that we were able to walk back and forth. And so then the crowd started mixing and the tensions rose, and I think it was inevitable that somebody would get hurt. And numerous people did get hurt. And so,
Grace, if you don't mind me jumping in here for a couple seconds.
Absolutely.
When that happened, that was actually the anniversary of my biological mom's death, believe it or not, August 12th. And so when that, and I have a long history with Charlottesville. Number one, I learned how to literally speak. Up there, I had a world-renowned speech pathologist teach me how to speak.
Wow.
And twice, I've been given the opportunity by a mutual friend of ours to fly back to Charlottesville and speak about SEEN adaptively at the University of Virginia. So when that happened, my stepsister was in town, and we just sat here at my house stunned, because I'm like, oh great, this is not cool. This is not cool. And I didn't realize that you were one of the peace protesters. I didn't realize that I knew someone that was a peace protester. And I think the mutual friend of us tried to go down there, and I think and if I was up there, I would have gone down to myself and did a peace protest as a woman in a wheelchair, because I think what they did will go down in history as one of the worst things in history, because they were just awful.
It was awful. It was tragic. It's interesting. I climbed up a tree that actually straddled I call them Nazis, KKK Nazis, that area where Lee Park is. And I saw just so many of those red hats that say "Make America Great Again." It was amazing how that area was just populated by those, and lots of pro-Trump banners and comments and stuff like that. Anyway, I climbed up in this tree and I was watching, and for maybe a full 40 seconds, somebody down below me started a little chant saying, "Jump, jump, jump, jump," like commit suicide kind of thing. It was just very strange. But I just smiled at him and said, "It's okay, guys." And I just tried to beam love at them. And eventually it was okay. And like I dropped my pen.
The host has joined the conference.
But one of the things that happened was, as I was standing between, so most of the peace people were sort of lined up along the side as a group of Nazis were walking past. So I was standing between the groups with my arms gently outstretched to kind of form a barrier. And as I was doing that, I saw a couple of the men in the opposition, Nazis, were kind of rushing to the side into a little alleyway, and I saw blood. And I was trained as an emergency medical technician. I used to run on the rescue squad up in Madison, Virginia. So I immediately stepped in, and I thought about it many times. I think had I been a person of color, or had I been a big, strong black man or whatever, then they would have immediately stopped me and not allowed me to help. Mm-hmm. I think the fact that I'm a small white woman allowed them to let me in to help these men who'd been hurt. So I stepped into the circle, which was well surrounded by a perimeter of many armed Nazis. And I stepped in and I started doing some medical care, and including, stopping blood and washing the tear gas out of people's eyes and things like that. And it was a profound experience. I often have thought, how often do we have the opportunity to truly love our enemies? And I felt that I was literally and just truly loving my enemies by serving them and helping them who were hurt. So I don't know, what they took from that experience back into their lives that are so sadly tainted with hatred. But my prayer is that it made a difference for some of them.
Well, I hope it made a difference for some of them, and the fact that the mother didn't even know what was going on with the son when the reporter, I believe, the son was from Ohio, I believe, and the son was actually from Ohio, and the reporter goes to the mom, and this wasn't a rush, do you know what's going on? And the mom goes, I had no idea, I don't meddle in those things. I'm like, come on. You don't meddle in what your son is doing on the internet? Come on. My dad, and I'm 30 years old and I'm not doing all that crazy stuff. My dad will occasionally ask me, what are you doing? So I think as a parent's perspective, I think we should be more conscious of what our kids are doing on the internet, no matter how old they are.
Well, that's a good point. I think that's correct, that we should just keep asking and being open to our children and seeing what they're up to and asking what they're up to. But then there's a line where we can't pass. They are adults. We can try to, like I'm Facebook friends with my kids, and my daughter has said, Mama, don't comment so much on my stuff. So I pull back and I just try to observe and talk in a like or a love now and then. And so I have a good sense of what my kids are doing and through Facebook. But adults, we birth these children and they become who they are to become. And it's fascinating to see. I have dear friends whose children have grown up and become very different than they are. And what do? You just got to keep loving them and see.
Yeah.
I don't see that there is any other answer. Challenging doesn't usually work as a parent. At some point you have to just keep loving them, keep welcoming them back, and keep hoping that the witness that you have as an individual and as a parent, the love that you show will eventually pull them back into that kind of a loving ability to be in relationship with other people. But it's a tricky one.
But it's a tricky one, and what we have a buffoon in office. I'm sorry if I get nasty fan mail after this one, but we have a buffoon in office who let this happen, who let August 12th happen, and my God, I will never forget it, because not only is it my biological mom's death date, it's something significant to all of us that shouldn't have happened.
Yeah, it's that kind of. Sadly, our president has quite a history of racial divisions. He was sued for racism in his housing stuff, and he definitely doesn't have a sense of just like the amazing ability of every kind of person on the planet to add to this incredible richness of diversity and beauty and intelligence and capability and creativity. So I think that's a sadness, and we can pity him for that. the reality is, though, when he sets a tone, or when people set a tone of hatred and division, then you have impressionable young people like, the Nazis and neo-Nazis and Klans, and you have these young people who follow it. And because it seems to be now more politically okay to say these things, it's really sad, because I think these people have always been there. They just were sort of restrained because it wasn't appropriate to say them out loud. But it was clear, and it has been clear for decades and decades, that simply because we passed the Civil Rights Act, simply because we've passed these laws that say that it's not okay to discriminate, there's still significant discrimination. And when President Obama was elected, that did not mean that racism was gone. It simply meant that enough people in our country saw past his skin color to say, wow, this is a phenomenal person. And he's thoughtful and creative and funny, and he loves his wife, and he's a family man, etc. So, I'm sorry, that's my alarm to call you. I apologize. I don't really know how to turn it off.
Okay.
I'm trying. I apologize. So,
oh God.
So unfortunately, the election of Donald Trump came on the wave of a backlash against President Obama from so many people who were not yet ready to say they could have a black man as a role model. And because that happened, this backlash is what I think allowed for President Trump to then be elected. A lot of people who had not spoken in public about their fears, their insecurities, their hatred, felt free to then come out of the woodwork and be openly hateful people. And that's just, but I think it's really important that we not just blame them, but that we really love them into a fullness. There's the only way they can become who they're really meant to be is through people like us reaching out and saying, hey, are you okay? What's going on? And listening to them, listen to their fear, listen to the fact that, the Democrats are not a lot better in a lot of things than the Republicans, and we've got to hold people accountable and look for third parties and vote our consciences and try to make a difference where we are and go places where we are challenged to go in our hearts of hearts.
Yes, I agree. And this not going to vote is an excuse that I don't like, because me as a disabled woman, I have the right to vote. I have the right every place to vote. God knows I did not vote for Donald Trump. I mean, he's trying to make me sicker and fun. For those of you who don't know, I am a teacher / writer. I'm actually a full-time writer who teaches on the side, and but I am on, my main condition is cerebral palsy. So with all this Medicaid stuff going down, Donald Trump is making America not great again. Thank you very much. If you want to know my honest opinion, I mean, he's saying, let's make America great again, but yet he's letting stuff happen over statues in Charlottesville and all this, and the peaceful demonstrators will go away. In his eyes, the Nazis would come again, do it, and then we would have to have you be a peaceful demonstrator again.
Right. Yep. It is. I mean, that's exactly what you're saying, and the only way to change it is by. I mean, voting is really important in so many levels. The more people vote, the more likely people are to recognize that voting is empowering. I mean, the fact that Virginia the new governor was elected in Virginia by one vote. One vote.
Yeah.
I just hope a lot of people
yes,
are and saying, "Oh my
remember that.
And even that's being challenged. So we'll have to see what happens. But the idea of one person, people say, "Well, my vote doesn't count. I'm just one person." It's like, okay, there you go. Had more of you who say your vote doesn't count voted, probably we would have a different president. Probably would, so many things would be different. And the reality is the appointment far more important than the idea of this one person being president for 4 years or 8 years, is the fact that he has the legal right to appoint so many judgeships around the country. And those judges will make life-determining decisions that will affect us for generations. So lawsuits get argued from the bottom up, and the Supreme Court justice that he appointed has not a great history, and yet that's not going to be the most significant appointment. It's going to be those hundreds and hundreds of other appointments that he makes and refuses to make. So it does make
Well, I definitely agree about changes, and this political climate has to calm down in 2018. That's one of my wishes, that this political climate will calm down in 2018. And before I let you go, Mary Grace, because I know you're a busy woman trying to do all these wonderful things for our planet, trying to rescue people out of bad situations, and trying to be a caregiver on top of it. Is there any closing thoughts that you would like to say and state to my fan base? And yes, when I say jump, my fan base goes how high, basically. So how would you like to close this interview out? And then I am wondering how people could find you, and if you have a couple questions to me that you would like to ask me.
Great. Thank you so much. I think that we could end the discussion together by talking about how each of the people who's listening, each individual has the ability to do something. Even if you smile at a stranger, even if you are just kind with the people with whom you live, any little bit of tenderness, of kindness, of mercy, of sweetness makes a difference in this troubled world. And as you and I and those who are able to get out sometimes go out and do what we can do, it does inspire other people. It helps them feel like they're not alone. And how do you encourage your listeners to go out and or even from their homes do things that make a good difference in the world?
Oh God, how much time do we have? I guess I would say I try and put nuggets of wisdom in people's ears so that they can understand. And I'll actually put in the show notes about on August 12th so people understand the reference here. But I guess I would say I try and put nuggets of good wisdom in people's ears to make them more compassionate towards not only the disabled, but the able-bodied at that. And It's really tough because I am on the outside looking in, and even though I have a disability, I am not involved in the disabled community as much as I should be. I know, bad me. But because I think, to a different drug. And so I try and put nuggets of inspiration in people's ears, and grace. I try. I don't know how much nuggets of grace people are getting from me, but we'll see. We'll see in 2018.
Yep, exactly that.
We will definitely see. I mean, as I said, this political climate has got to calm down, and we've got to look at things from a holistic, loving perspective.
Yeah. It's step by step and day by day.
You can say that one again. You can say that one as many times as you want.
One of the things for me is really important is to maintain my spiritual base. I think there's a really big difference, and I wish there was more discussion about the difference between religion and faith, or religion and spirituality, so that people would really pay attention to the need for grounding, the need for being aware of who we are and where we are and why we are, instead of the dogmatic, you should do this, you must do this. Instead of that kind of religiosity, I'd like to see more of a, how do we love better? How do we reach out to one another and be here for one another?
Yep. And could people Google your husband's disease? I know I'm going to send people down a Google rabbit hole here, but I would like to invite you back on for a third time to discuss a disease that I need to do more research on, Miss Wynn needs to do more research on, because I have never heard of your husband's disease in my life. And so,
and we had, and I've done medical stuff, and I had never heard of it either. But it's apparently it's been around for a while, but it is very rare.
So it's very rare. So people.
Hey, actually, when it's interesting because now it's rare in the way it manifests in my husband as cardiac amyloid. However, research is showing that a lot of people with Alzheimer's, when they do brain autopsies posthumously, they're finding amyloid in the brain.
Of course they.
Not for everyone.
Of course they are.
Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
So fascinating.
But
tragic.
You guys need to Google. You guys need to Google his disease so that we can get behind the research. And Mary Grace, before I let you go, is there any study for your husband's disease?
There's actually a little hope in a new drug that nobody has talked with me about any possibility of dietary or any kind of exercise stuff that makes a difference. But there's a drug that's being tested right now at Duke. He was slated for this clinical trial, but he actually ended up improving so much that they had to kick him off the trial study. Of
course he did.
But there is, and the doctor said, this is a good thing. He's getting better.
This is a good thing. I love it. So you guys may have to Google, Google this cardiac amyloid, and that's what we're dealing with here. And
AMYLOID, amyloid. Also
and
called amyloidosis.
I will to dive with me on this disease, because what I'm coming to find out is brain aneurysm lay dormant. My mom had a brain aneurysm. It finally burst, and then she got it spotted, and then I'm slowly but surely coming to find out that viral meningitis is something that's deadly, and I'm slowly but surely coming to find out that amyloids in the heart or something that's deadly too. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that until today.
Stiffening. They call it stiffening of the heart.
Well,
it's a stiffening.
Yeah, but
it
could
takes away that plasticity.
I will.
So like his blood pressure. His blood pressure was. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I will ask you this: could they do tests to find this out? I mean, we're going to have to.
It took them a long time to identify it, and they had finally identified it through a heart biopsy. But they had they kept looking and kept looking and kept doing this, and one of the doctors kept saying, "I'm sure it's amyloidosis. I just can't prove it. I'm sure this is amyloid." And she was so funny because she kept saying, "I'm sure this is it. We're treating you as if it were it, but we cannot prove it yet." And so finally, eventually, they were able indeed to diagnose it, but only through a heart biopsy. So,
oh boy.
Yes.
Oh boy.
It's crazy.
The rabbit hole of medical.
Yeah.
The rabbit hole of medical. You walk in thinking it's one thing and it turns out to be another. And so you're going to have to come back and give me a progress update on your husband, and then you're going to have to do a deep dive with me because we need to get behind all these families that have it, and then we need to do something as far as medical research to help you guys out.
Yeah, well, I think universal single-payer healthcare system would be the first step. You know, expanding Medicaid in those countries. I mean, in those states that need it, like North Carolina and Virginia, but everywhere there's so many. I mean, and really, if people would write letters to their reps and say, you must expand Medicaid and you must come up with a single-payer universal healthcare system. The insurance company should not be deciding whether we can see a doctor, and it just should not be the case.
No,
insurance should be for housing.
I agree with you. And I appreciate your time this morning. And as I said, I didn't know that you went down there on August 12th. I truly appreciate your time, and I truly appreciate you being a peace warrior here. And then for those of you that don't know what happened on August 12th, just Google it. It will, if you type in Charlottesville, Virginia, K-Nazis, you will definitely see what happened. They tried to call a statue down.
When are you able to send out or post that article that I sent you about, it's called In the Storm of Violence, Some Chose to Love? I will post it in the show notes. Great. I think
I will post it in the show notes. That will tell a lot of people what's going on, and I just think that this world has to be a better place in 2018, and I'll leave it at that. And I'll leave it at that before we get on the political tirade here. Because this world has got to be a better place in 2018, and I hope you guys have a safe and happy New Year. And let's make 2018 the strongest yet peaceful year we can make it, you guys.
Amen.
And that includes my grace. Amen to that. And I appreciate you guys listening, and I'll try and get this interview up this will be the second interview for Butterflies of Wisdom in 2018. I will try and get it up by Tuesday, if not earlier, and so you guys can hear it. And as I said, I appreciate Mary Grace's time this morning and all this afternoon on her schedule. And I just wish you guys have a safe and happy 2018. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was wonderful to talk with you. God bless you. Okay. Good.